So why did you get into the financial world? And then, with as many different talents as you have, why have you stayed so long?
I had no intention of coming into this business. I was recruited. Someone approached me, a 62-year-old man who was looking for a successor. And he said to me, this is not a math job. He said, this is a relationship job. Being female, I think you have a real advantage in this business. In our business, we take care of our people first. We take care of the people we love the most first. I was in the business for about 6 months when Andy, my mentor, said, okay, so when are you bringing your parents in? So I was very nervous to approach my parents, and they came in to have an initial meeting. And what was really interesting is I had no idea my parents had goals. And my dad sat in this meeting, and we went through these fact-finding questions, and he said, most importantly to me is to be able to retire. And I'm ready. All of the pieces were done, complete, and tidied up. And on May 4th, my dad had a massive heart attack and died. It was just a reminder, an instant reminder why I was put in this business. We have to be responsible for the future in case we get there. We have to have a great time in the meantime in case we don't.
This is Sparta!
Welcome back to Spartan Leadership. I'm your host, Josh Kosnick. I hope your confetti is ready this morning because we are about to have a moment. Amy and I know each other from a previous or past life, I should say. And what I love that we both made these difficult career decisions to charge towards more of what we love and impact more human beings. And that is our mission here on this earth, I know, for both of us. So please join me in welcoming financial advisor, entrepreneur, and best-selling author, Amy Jamrog. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. So excited to be here.
Well, I'm excited to have you. I think the last time we got to spend meaningful time together was at a basketball game for the NCAA March Madness.
You're
and you had your
absolutely
son,
right.
Charlie, sitting there, and we were in the crowd. I don't even remember if the Badgers were playing, or I think we were watching different teams respectively in Milwaukee, but it was a great time.
Oh, that was a memorable trip. Yeah, he was young. My gosh, he just turned 22. So that was years ago.
Yeah. So is he done with college?
Yes. And is working in healthcare and is really, really happy.
Amazing. Amazing. That's awesome. Good to hear. All right. So before we get into the cute confetti pun that Alicia wrote for me, let's rewind 26 years. I know we have financial advisors that listen to the show just based on my background as well. And I think it would be a huge miss for them not to hear your why, and especially with how successful you've been in the industry for so long. So why did you get into the financial world? And then, with as many different talents as you have, why have you stayed so long?
It's a great question, and it's one that I think of often. Obviously, 26 years in the business, you think about the career and the impact over now almost 3 decades. I had no intention of coming into this business. I was recruited. I was in corporate health insurance sales before, and I was doing well. I had a salary, a credit card, and a company car, right? Something that any 23-year-old would be thrilled to have. And someone approached me, someone in financial services, a 62-year-old man who was looking for a successor. And by the time we connected, I was just 25. And he said, I was trying to sell him my health insurance products for his clients. And he cut me off in the middle of my presentation. And he said to me, "Kid, you're the person I've been looking for." And I said to him, like, no, thanks, not interested. Estate planning, your math job didn't seem real interesting to me. And he said to me, this is not a math job. He said, this is a relationship job. And I think that you've got the kind of personality that clients would really attach to. And he said, being female, I think you have a real advantage in this business. So I met with him several times. And the more that he explained really the heart of the work, I loved it. And so I agreed to join his practice. And my why was to make a lot of money. My why was to have, fancy shoes and expensive purses. And, it was extremely self-centered, honestly. And I was in the business for about 6 months when Andy, my mentor, said, okay, so when are you bringing your parents in? And I said to him, not till I get better. Like, I want to really be good at this before I bring my parents in. And he said, that's not how this works. in our business, we take care of our people first. We take care of the people we love the most first. So get your parents in here. So I was very nervous to approach my parents, and they came in to have an initial meeting. And what was really interesting is, I was 25, my parents were 49 at the time, and I had no idea my parents had goals. And my dad sat in this meeting, and we went through these fact-finding questions, and he said, most importantly to me is to be able to retire, and I'm ready. So if you can tell me when I could financially be secure enough to retire, I would like to do that. I've been working really hard for 30 years as an entrepreneur. So that was a surprise to me because they just seemed very young to be retired. We went through the whole planning process. And what was really interesting, Josh, I learned early on not to make assumptions about people. Like if you saw my folks, you'd think successful, nice cars, a nice house, right? Good job. But they hadn't done planning. My dad hadn't looked at his 401k in 20 years. Their estate planning documents were done when my sister and I were born. So 25-year-old documents, and no buy-sell agreement with his business partner. They had a handshake agreement from when they were 20 and started their company. So I'm sitting in this meeting, while my mentor is asking the questions, thinking, I feel like I'm in a training video. Like these are all the things that people are supposed to have. And we're trained to ask the questions because sometimes they haven't done the planning, even though they look like they're successful and they should have done that. So we went through this entire planning process, and there's a reason for my telling this long-winded story, but it was a great case study for me because I learned all of it. I learned what it was like to go to the attorney meeting, to go to the accountant meeting, to understand how buy-sell agreements work, to go through the life insurance process with my dad, to rebalance the 401k, like the whole thing. And we finally got to the end of the process and concluded that he actually could retire. So at 50, he decided he was done and told his business partner, I'm giving you a 1-year notice, but at the end of this year, which was 1998, he said, at the end of the year, I'm going to retire and I'm going to do all the things that I've been meaning to do, but I've just been working too hard and haven't had the time to. So everything was complete in January. The buy-sell was done. The life insurance was done. Like all of the pieces were done, complete, and tidied up. And on May 4th, my dad had a massive heart attack and died. Oh. And it wasn't the plan. Right. And it certainly wasn't my plan or our expectation. And, it was just a reminder, an instant reminder, why I was put in this business, that it instantly became, obviously I was in this business to make sure my mom was okay. It was certainly not about expensive shoes and purses and making money. It was like, oh, this is the job. This is what he meant by a very important relationship that you play in the families that you take care of. Like, oh, I got it instantly. And, my mom would tell you she doesn't remember the first year after my dad died. They went to the junior prom together. Like this is really, really, really hard for our family. But really, it's hard for me. It's been so many years. It's still hard to articulate like the impact. But what I instantly got conviction.
Your why was crystallized that day.
Crystallized. Like it wasn't even a choice. Like that was it. Like I just knew this was why I was in this business. First to take care of my mom, then to take care of anybody my parents were friends with. I just started calling on all my parents' friends, all the couples that they hung out with, just to make sure everybody was in the kind of shape that my dad was in financially. And like every single thing was buttoned up and complete. I mean, my dad's life insurance policy was 3 months old. Like my dad was my first death claim. It was really impactful, meaningful to be the daughter and the financial advisor at the same time. And and so why have I stayed for 26 years? Because of that. Because I want to be that person for any family. I want to be that person when the clients do get to retire, when their kids do get to go to college and they don't have to pay back any loans because we've planned for it, when they sell their companies successfully, right? All those, the good things that we planned for. I want to be around for that. And I want to be around for any of the unexpected. And it's been a privilege to be in this business and to just be part of all these families, and then to build a team. And so now I have a team of 9, to build a team that we all collectively get to help these families. It's a privilege is the word I always use to describe the work that I get to do on that part of my business.
Well, I love it. So thank you for being vulnerable with your story. The things that came to mind for me were 2 things. Most of us get in this business for financial reasons, because we're sold the upside. We know that there's an unlimited ability to earn income. And even though we know we're also helping people, we are attracted first to the opportunity that is the business. We don't necessarily have that why crystallized. Yours was crystallized so quickly, right? With the passing of your father, and so personally.
Yes.
It wasn't like some, I've coached many advisors, recruited many advisors that have had a death claim in their first 6 months, which crystallizes their why, but none of them were their own father or own parent. It was usually a client or a friend that they had first run into. And so to have that why so crystallized, and to be on, so I used to give this talk when my father-in-law took his own life a number of years ago. It was the first time I was on the other side of the table, Amy. Mm-hmm. But you and I, as the advisor, are always the ones on the opposite end of the table, delivering the check, telling the family that they're going to be okay because we did this proper planning. That instance was the first time that I sat on the opposite end of the table, where I was sitting between my wife and my mother-in-law. And even though I was part of the advisory team, they had known Randy Lehman for 20 years before I came into the picture. And Randy so masterfully talked through, and so empathetically talked through everything that they had put in place to make sure that my mother-in-law was going to be okay. And that was the first time I sat on that side of the table. And you had the experience 3 months in to not only deliver the check, but also be on the other side of the table with your mentor to understand everything that was going on, because you're still so new in the business, making sure that the insurance was going to get paid, that you did all the right planning, and also grieving at the same time. I can only imagine.
It's a blessing to have these skills, though, not just the math skills of the financial planning part of the work, but like you said, the empathy for me, I really got it so that any of the death claims I had after my dad, any of the disabilities or long-term care claims, or just difficult family situations that would come up with any of our clients, I had a level of empathy that I'm certain I would not have had I not gone through this with my own family. And so that's how I really believe I was successful in the business, because I really loved the people. I really connected with them. Like, they felt stewarded through a process. They knew how much we cared about them, and that matters. Matters when it comes to repeat business and referrals, and just the trust that an entire family has in the advisory team, that they just keep sending more family members. And I really believe that it was a gift that I got from that personal experience to be able to carry that forward into all of the subsequent meetings that I've had, which are, thousands and thousands of meetings over these years.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the age old quote. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And so that empathy, leading with that empathy first, whereas so many people try and go get their designations or even graduate with their CFP credits and all the different stuff. And yes, that knowledge matters, but not at first.
Right.
They first need to know you care, and then they'll look at your credentials and make sure you know what you're talking about.
Totally agree.
So that's good. So, all right. So you have mastered the skill of advising. You may not say you've mastered it, but you've built a very, very successful career, because I know you and I both subscribe to we're always learning and always growing. Yeah. But you've really mastered the skill of advising and built an unbelievable practice and career. And you've poured into your clients, but you still have more to give. And cue Coach Amy, which is so cool to learn about. I didn't even know about this so much without following you now and understanding what you're doing on this. So, like, mentally, what did it take for you to get uncomfortable, leave the organization that you and I left, and that you knew so well, right? And you and I had so many mutual friends there, but you transitioned to this next chapter of your life. I know that was a difficult decision, and now you're able to coach and also still run your practice. Tell us a little bit about that transition, and also that next chapter, what the vision you had to start pouring into others, because you didn't hold the leadership contract that I held and were responsible for that, but you've now chosen the leadership path and coaching others to be successful.
Yes. We talk a lot about impact in this business, and I'm clear I've had a lot of impact on a lot of people. My team and I have taken care of a lot of families and couples and kids and business owners. But I got to a point 20 years in where it wasn't enough. And I thought, like, what's wrong with me? This is a very, a very satisfying career. Like, why does this not feel like enough? And I just felt like one client at a time for the next half of my career, it wasn't enough impact. I wanted to make a more meaningful mark on the industry. And so it was like a train the trainer mentality. Like, okay, I know how to do financial planning. Like I'm good at it. And I also am a great teacher. What if I pivoted 20 years in and now started teaching the other advisors? What if I could shorten the learning curve for someone? What if I could tighten up the trajectory for a new advisor and, get them through the hard first 5 years shorter because of great training and skills and lessons learned? And so I put it out there. And I put it out there pre-COVID, and I was noticing the lack of community, within our industry, right? It's lonely anyway to be in our business, right? We've got each other and our colleagues, but if you're not a financial advisor, it's hard to know the depth of responsibility that we have every day. Like, the job doesn't end at 5 o'clock. I wake up in the middle of the night still thinking about my clients. And so, like, I know the level of responsibility and what it takes to run a successful practice and still have a life and manage stress and stay healthy and manage mental health and all of that. I wonder how others are doing it. And I put it out there right at the very beginning of the pandemic because I could see colleagues struggling, especially women in our business. Home with the kids, homeschooling, uncertainty, running the practice. How do you still pay for payroll? But like, there was so many worries that we had.
Like headwinds. Yeah.
So, but at the same time, our clients needed us more than ever. And so it's like, we don't really have time to worry about ourselves because the clients don't know what PPP is. And we've got to start to help them figure out cash flow and if they're not getting paid. So it was just this whirlwind. And what I started to see was a lack of community, a lack of just like, I need my people. And so I started coaching online, and it was amazing. I thought, well, let me put it out there, and I'm going to start a monthly subscription coaching business. And if I could get 15 or 20 people in a cohort, like, then we'd have some real community and something to really talk about. And where you'd feel like you've got like-minded people once a month that you could share ideas with. And 135 people signed up in the first week. And I was like, whoa, okay, so maybe I'm onto something here. And so here we are, year 4, and the pandemic is over and we're back to, so-called normal work. I mean, it's obviously different because we now have virtual opportunities, but the community still needs each other. And so I'm just seeing now more than ever, even though the uncertainty of the pandemic is over, there's still a desire for people to learn, to share. And what I love about the coaching groups that I'm running now is the level of generosity, that people are there to get and to give. Nobody shows up selfishly, like, what am I taking from this call today? Like, people show up ready to give and receive. And I love the collective wisdom that these groups share with one another.
Yes.
So I can see now, like, exponential impact in the industry. So my mission is to increase retention in our business, increase revenue among our advisors. So, like, be better business owners, and increase happiness. And those are equal to me. And so in our groups, we equally weight those things. So when we talk about goal setting, every quarter, anybody in our coaching group is going to have business goals, personal goals, fitness goals, and mental health goals. Very similar to how you think, because I always say, we're not producers, we're people. And we've got to be taking care of the whole person if we're going to be great in all aspects of our lives. So, if we're working hard and stressed out and unhealthy, our relationships are going to suffer. Our businesses are going to suffer. Our employees are not going to want to hang out with us. But if we're taking care of ourselves in all areas, not only are we better advisors, we're better people, we're better spouses, we're better employers, but then we're also better role models. And now people look to us and go, oh, how are you doing all of that? Well, come on into my coaching group. I can teach you that if you're an advisor, or be a client, because we teach this. We build health and fitness goals into our clients' financial plans. We just call it planning. But, if you're not healthy and well, who cares how much money you've saved for retirement if you don't get there, right? And I just think of my dad, right? My dad had heart disease and we didn't know it. My dad was more stressed out than he let on. We did not know that. Had there been some kind of focus on health and wellness, who knows what the outcome could have been for him. But I take that conversation forth into every client meeting, every advisor meeting, every coaching meeting. Every time I get on a main stage to speak, you gotta bring health and wellness into the conversation, I think. And I know you.
Yeah. You're preaching to my choir. That's why I was sitting here smiling the whole time. I'm like, that's exactly it. That's exactly what I focus on with my groups and the people that I coach. And I know you just finished 75 hard, so congratulations on that as well. Because that's a huge deal. And a lot of people won't even attempt it. I had people try and join my group that wanted to do 75 medium. I said, there is no such thing. Because they want to alter
75 soft. What is 75 soft? That sounds like, who would sign up for that? That sounds terrible.
That just sounds like you're living your everyday life anyhow, just soft. So no, that is amazing that you focus on those things, because we are people at the end of the day. We're not just producers. We're not just advisors. And if we don't take care of ourselves, we can't be there for anyone else.
Right.
So that is awesome. So you have merged really two passions to be able to have a massive impact. And you just think about that. And that's why I became a leader, was really to exponentially grow my impact. Was, we can focus on a couple hundred or a few hundred households as an advisor. But when you have other people that are impacting a few hundred households each,
exactly,
expound. So it's just amazing. So that is awesome to hear. And it's just amazing also when you think about, you had the idea pre-COVID, you probably struggled a little bit with, oh crap, what's going to happen with COVID? And then it's just thrived through it, which many other things do. That community piece, I want you to I just thought of that is during COVID, when I was running my firm, everything gets shut down. We're all sent home, right? And we're all now in this virtual world where we're used to being right next to each other, being able to stop over at each other's offices, be able to ask questions, be able to talk about our families, whatever it may be, and you lose that community. So you're so right in the community piece. One thing I did was start town hall meetings, and we did it every other week just to get together. So sometimes I'd have speakers in, sometimes I'd have a topic, but bottom line is everyone could see each other's faces, even though it was via Zoom, because we're all fighting that same battle together, and we really missed the communal aspect of our business in our offices. So just what you spoke to there, getting people together, especially like-minded individuals, and also givers are going to get the most, are some just awesome points you brought up there. So I want to get into the Confetti Moments, because Amy is now a best-selling author. And the topic I love so much, because I think that all of us struggle, all of us achievers, let's say, maybe human beings, but for sure achievers struggle in celebrating successes. It's always the next thing. It's always the next goal. And I'm one of those people, so I can speak from personal experience, is that I have been terrible at stopping and celebrating any success that I've had in my life, because I'm always, what's the next thing? What's the next mountain to climb? What is it? So I'm just a huge fan of your book and your concept there, but please describe the Confetti Moments from the author's words, Amy's words.
I never get tired of this question, because I work as a financial advisor. I'm a coach. I've got all of these communities of people, and collectively there are so many stories to tell. And I wondered for years, what's the best way to tell these stories, right? There's so much celebration in the work that we do. And there's so much celebration in our own lives if we take the time to pump the brakes and notice it. And so I give a lot of credit to COVID. So this goes back to April of 2020, right? Anytime you turn on the news, anywhere you turned, any data that was being pushed out was so negative. And I said to my team, okay, we got to do something. We got to build some kind of communication with our clients that's positive, not naive. Like, I'm clear we're in the middle of a pandemic, but there's got to be some joy, some news, some simple things that we could share, some resources that we could put out there that would just be a little bright spot in the client's week. And so on Wednesdays, I started blogging. Well, I started emailing. I didn't know that it was a blog. Then it just sort of became a blog. Like, oh, I guess this is a blog. So I called it Wednesday Wisdom. And I would write these short little stories, oftentimes about clients or just little vignettes and things that I had experienced that I thought would put a smile on someone's face, or their, embarrassing stories of things that have happened to me that would just make someone laugh. And then a couple of resources, like things online. Back then it was like homeschooling ideas for your children. No one knew what that was. And so anything that would just be resourceful, interesting, and lighthearted, but really around celebration and celebrating the simple things, because frankly, there wasn't much to celebrate during COVID. Well, Josh, what started happening was I started getting these emails from people like, thank you so much. I look forward to every Wednesday to these stories. Thank you so much for Wednesday Wisdom. You don't know me, but my boss shares this with our whole company every week. My boss is your client, or my aunt sends your Wednesday Wisdom to our whole family. And it was like, huh. And so then I started to see like thousands and thousands of people are reading this thing and sending me emails. And these are people I don't know. And it said to me, these stories need to be shared, and let's keep it going. So I did Wednesday Wisdom every Wednesday for 2 years. And when I got to the 2-year anniversary, I wrote a blog about, hey, it's been 2 years. Can you believe we're still doing this? But there's still so much perspective and so much to acknowledge and celebrate. And then the ideas started coming in from people saying, oh, wow, it's been 2 years. I wish you could put these together in a collection, because I'd like to go back and read all of them. This should be a book. This should be a collection of short stories. And I thought, well, enough people are saying that. Maybe they're right. And so I did a little market research. I put it out there. Would anybody read this? Would anybody care? It was just overwhelming. And so when I was putting this collection together, which I was going to call Wednesday Wisdom, I was working with my aunt who designed the cover of the book. I said to her, it's called Wednesday Wisdom, but I want it to be fun, because really it's about these confetti moments, which is an expression I've used for years and we've used with our clients for years, that our mission is to create more confetti moments for our clients in the work that we do. And that any of the goals that our clients articulate in that first meeting with us, those are all confetti moments in the future, right? These are all confetti moments waiting to happen. And so as I was sitting with Maureen, who was designing the cover of the book, I said, I want it to have like confetti. I want it to feel like a party. And, I want to capture that, like that kind of happy essence to the book. And so we get on a Zoom call and she's like, I've got the cover. And she pops the cover up on the Zoom screen and it says confetti moments. And I said, no, the book is called Wednesday Wisdom. She goes, this book is not Wednesday Wisdom. She said, this book should be called Confetti Moments, because really that's what every single chapter is about. And I thought, brilliant. Yep, you're right. It just took an outsider's perspective to see that. And so this book evolved. It became this collection. I took 52 of my favorite stories, 52 of the stories that I had the most feedback on. And I created a book that you can read one chapter a week for a year and treat it like a journal. You can, I have a lot of couples who read one chapter a week and take on the lessons each week. I have a ton of families who use this as their Sunday dinner conversation, and they read a chapter with their kids, and then they use that as the prompt to have conversation, especially with teenagers where they can't really get them to talk anyway. We've got teams who are using it for their Monday morning meeting, that it's the theme for the week, and then they challenge each other to take on some of these questions that the book poses at the end of each chapter. So it's kind of taken on this life of its own. And when I go back to college, I was a creative writing major. I never took a math course, which I always say to my clients, this should be so comforting that I've never taken a math course. But I wanted to create a best-selling book. And I wrote it in my journal my senior year of college. And I said, someday I'm going to write a bestseller. Now, I didn't think it would take 30 years. And I had no idea that my financial planning life paired with my coaching life, then paired with a pandemic, would create this wonderful collection, but it did. And so I'm just so grateful for the people who've read it and who shared it with others and who bought it for their whole family for Christmas. And it's just been humbling to see the success that it's had and to know that the stories really matter.
Well, and it's brand new. So the success is just starting, right? Yeah. So that's what's so cool to think about, especially as an author. You get to put something out there, some of your life's work, your funny stories, your moments, your successes, some of that nature, and it can live in perpetuity.
Well, I mean,
that's what's so cool.
There are a lot of stories in the book about my dad. And it's like, because part of me was like, my gosh, he's gone so soon, so young. Like, there's so many stories I didn't want to lose, and so many lessons that he taught us as kids that I didn't want to lose. And so, selfishly, I feel like I've preserved a lot of those within the collection as well. And then those are the stories that people say, when I read those stories about your dad, like, I really, really connect to those. So I just love that I feel like he's still having impact.
Yeah, that's so good. And this is, for Charlie and for every other person that you care about to know, like, this is your work. This is part of your legacy. I had our mutual friend, Ben Newman, on months ago, and we were talking about it because he was joking about how he was late to the podcast game. And I was like, Ben, but you've been speaking forever. And your kids
have podcast.
Yeah, I was like you're on YouTube everywhere. You have these clips of you speaking everywhere. I was like, just like this podcast is for me, like, if no one listens to it, which I know I'm so thankful for those that do, but if no one did, my kids will have my voice. If something happened to me, my kids will know, and some of the lessons and what I was trying to get across, and the people I interviewed and the questions I asked, they're going to get a piece of me. And he broke down crying. Like, he's like, you're so right. Yep. Like, it was a really powerful moment. And this is part of your legacy, which is just so cool that you put the effort in. It took COVID, one of those bad things for almost all of us, right? COVID was not a pleasant experience for any of us, no matter what your view on was it. But like, there's been some really good things that have come out of it, whether not just the book, your coaching. But I even think about it as the financial advisors and all the financial advisors that I coached and developed at that time. And I know you can attest to this because you mentioned it briefly, the virtual world. Our business was such a face-to-face personal business before it. COVID gave us an excuse to be able to do business via Zoom, because that technology had existed in Skype and others for over a decade, but we had never used it as an advisor. Never. And we talk about being relevant, right? That when I coach advisors, right, we have to be relevant for our clients. We have to be bringing new ideas all the time to our clients, because they're paying us for, right? To stay educated, to stay on top of things, and to be relevant. But what I found over the last few years is it's not just about us being relevant, but it's actually about providing something for the clients to make the clients feel relevant. Yes.
And so when COVID started and everything pivoted to Zoom, and we have a lot of elderly clients, they didn't know how to use Zoom, right? They didn't know how to use the technology. It was very intimidating. And I thought, here's a moment where we can help people feel more relevant. And so we did Zoom trainings, and my team would call the client on the phone and say, okay, we're going to set up the Zoom call with Amy for next week, but this week, let's do a practice run. Let's test your app. Let's make sure your sound works. And so my team would help not just our older clients, everybody had to learn it, but would take the time to teach the technology. And then, if I had a call with you at 10 o'clock and Zoom was new for you, my team would hop on 5 minutes early and make sure they were all set up and feeling confident, and then sit with them until I hopped on the call. And to me, like, it was not just bringing relevant technology to the client, but making them also feel connected and feel relevant. I remember my uncle, who was the editor of my book, my uncle Austin, who's 90, when we helped him with Zoom, then he knew how to do Zoom Easter. And he was so excited to get on, to get in 2020, to get on a Zoom call with the entire family from across the country. Like, I remember him just being in the middle of the squares on our Easter Zoom dinner, saying, he's like just looking at all the squares. He says, I just can't believe I can see all of your faces at the same time in all of these different parts of the country. And he just felt so relevant. And so I think that was a really masterful thing that a lot of us were able to do during the pandemic, was, despite not being in person, I really feel like we brought a lot of people together.
Yeah. Yeah. We still need that human to human connection. I think that Zoom world, definitely good, definitely for efficiency, and definitely during those times where we were so not connected, brought a little bit of connectivity together. But I would still much rather have you sit next to me and possibly have a drink together and chop it up a little bit. But yeah, so I want to get back on track, because I always try to give the audience practical stuff as well. And your book has some practicality to it. And again, going back to me also, is self-admitting that we're not good at this stuff of celebrating. What is some application, whether it's visualization or being able to apply the confetti moments? They're like, yeah, Amy, I hear you. I want to celebrate more. I don't know how.
Yeah. So first of all, don't overthink it. That the book is about being human and being humble and celebrating the ordinary. So the first thing I would say is just look around, like slow down and look around, because there are things to celebrate all around us. I also say, like, be the person to prompt it. And so the simplest lesson that I teach in the book is the thank you note. To just send if you want to celebrate, then bring celebration to other people. And a simple way to do that is with the handwritten thank you note. And it's never, ever too late to send a thank you. So when I wrote the book and it became a bestseller in November, I wrote a thank you note to my 8th grade English teacher, because she was the first person who told me that I was a good writer when I was 13. And I sent her a copy of my book and I said, look, it's been a long time since I was in 8th grade, but I want to thank you for teaching me writing skills, because here I am, a 51-year-old with this book that I've always wanted to write, and just send a thank you. So it's never too late to send a thank you note. And so I would say take five thank you notes, and take the weekend and look back on your life at people you appreciate, people who made an impact on you, and send the thank you note, because the recipient of that note, right, that's instant dopamine, that's instant, that's an instant confetti moment for them and for you for having sent it. So that's one simple thing. The other is, I always talk about bucket list. It's so important. If you want to have more celebration in your life, then put it on the calendar. Book things so that you always have something to look forward to, whether it's something for you to look forward to, or something your mom can look forward to that you're going to prompt, something for your kids to look forward to, build something fun for your team at work, but always have something on the calendar that you're counting down towards and looking forward to, because you're practicing celebration by deliberately building it into the calendar. And I think that makes a big difference. And then the third piece is to create confetti moments for others by asking other people what's on their bucket list. So start with your family, start with the elders in your family, right? I said to my mom's only 75, but what's on your bucket list? Like, you had a second half of life without my dad, right? Without her significant other. What else do you want to do? And my mom said to me, well, I said, no, Mom, for real. Like, there's got to be something there. And she said, well, with all the things you've done in your lifetime, you're going to think this is very small, but I've always wanted to skate at Rockefeller Center in New York City. I said, okay, well, let's do that.
Let's rock it.
What? And I said, let's go. And so how to build more celebration into your own life is to do it for other people. And when is all she had to do was say that. And I'm online booking our hotel and took my sister and the three of us for my mom's birthday, skated at Rockefeller. It was like a dream come true for her. It was an incredible moment for us as for kids. And to just have that special time with her. She said it was one of her favorite moments of her life. Wasn't that hard to do to make that happen for her? And so asking the people you love, the people you care about, what's on your bucket list, what's unfulfilled, what do you need some help accomplishing, and can I help you?
I love that last one. Well, they're all great, by the way, Amy, but that last one I think is easier for us to think about and do because we're doing it for others, not for ourselves. Right. But in turn, it not only are you going to get some major smiles, I'm just picturing you and your sister and your mom smiling at Rockefeller right now, and you're going to get some major smiles doing it, but it's also going to teach you a lesson like, hey, maybe this is something that I want to do, right? Or maybe this prompts a thought of a different activity that I want to do, so that giving to others seems to be a little bit easier than giving to ourselves, but it also may trip you into falling into something that you may want to do for yourself as well. The addition I would make, because I love all three of those, so I do the thank you cards. So I could be better at writing backwards, right? I like to write forwards as like, this week, here's something I was grateful for, or someone I was grateful for. I'm going to write that card. I love the backwards thought. I'm going to think about that more. What I thought about as you were giving those examples was people in your life that are good at celebrating, asking for their guidance. Like, so if Amy's going to be one of my go-tos from now on, I'm going to be like, hey, Amy, I need help celebrating something. Help me out here. But Alicia's really good at that for me. And whether it's for my wife and I's anniversary, whether it's for find someone that goes that little extra. Like you go to a party and who put it together and they did this little thing extra that was really cute or really cool. That's the person you go and ask, hey, I want to do something special for this person. What ideas are you? And you know that person that goes a little extra likes doing that type of stuff. So they're going to be like, oh, this idea, this idea, this idea. So just ask some of those people that are actually naturally good at that stuff or naturally enjoy doing it, and you'll get some great ideas.
Absolutely. And by asking them, right, you are creating a confetti moment for them. You're creating it for the person who's going to be the recipient of the party. You're creating it for yourself because now you're building this community where a lot of people get to participate in the celebration because they had some little piece in building it. And I think that's the piece that, some people say, oh, I'm not the confetti type, right? Well, you don't have to be throwing parties to acknowledge and celebrate the little moments in life, right? It's just noticing. It's taking that extra time at the end of the day to spend time with your kids and say, look, I just want to share with you something I noticed you did today on the playground. I was so proud of you. That was really awesome. Okay, instant confetti, right? These are the little things that you look around and go, if I had a little confetti, I would throw it right now because this is a real celebration. Your kid gets a driver's license. Your baby takes her first steps. These are all little moments of celebration that didn't require an event. It just required some acknowledgement.
Yeah. Didn't require an event, just requires some acknowledgement. So powerful. So that leads me into one of our final questions, because that was really a great leadership tip you just gave us. Mm-hmm. So you being the leader of a firm, leader of a coaching practice, leader in your community, what tips would you give entrepreneurs or leaders to be, and you're also leading major entrepreneurs that are also clients of yours, so you have a lot of experience and wisdom in this. We have so much thrown at us as leaders. So it's like one of those things where oh, another thing. No, this could be the thing that really takes your culture to the next level. So I want you to pay attention to whatever Amy answer is going to give us here, but we want to make sure you pay attention here. What tips would you have for those leaders, those entrepreneurs that are so busy? We know we got the world thrown on our shoulders, for creating either confetti moments or just appreciation or creating that culture around their people.
Yep. And I would say this goes back to my dad. The lessons I've learned from the experience of having him in my life for the first 25 years and then not having him physically here for the second 25 is this. that we have to be responsible for the future in case we get there. And we have to have a great time in the meantime in case we don't. And so I say that to entrepreneurs all the time because we're so goal oriented, we're so future focused, and we have a lot of responsibility, and we have a lot of people counting on us. And so, yeah, we've got to be responsible for the future in case we get there. We want a lot of celebration in the future. And it's going to be us and our leadership that's going to bring a whole bunch of people forward into a better future. But in case we don't get there, take the time to celebrate along the way. Take the vacations, drive the convertible, share with other people, give some of your money away now. Don't wait till you're dead. Like all of these little things that you can do to celebrate for yourself, for your community, for your employees, for your kids, it matters. And so, great if you're successful and you have all the money in the world, but if you're not sharing that with other people and celebrating that with other people, what's the point? Yeah. So plan for the future, be responsible for a great future in case you get there, and enjoy the journey in the meantime in case you don't.
That's so good. So good. Something I needed to hear myself. I'm getting better at it, I will admit, but it has been a big struggle throughout my life being a high achiever and wanting to just tackle every goal, every obstacle in front of me. So that's why I love this message and wanted to have you on so badly, because it is such a needed message for all of us. So final question. I didn't prep you for it. So it's going to be off the gut, off the cuff. What's an unpopular belief that you hold to be true that most others would disagree with you on?
What's an unpopular belief that I hold to be true? Ooh, this is a really good question. I feel like I want to write an essay about this. I'm feeling inarticulate at this moment, but it's something around money. Like money isn't everything, but it's really helpful. Yeah. And because my world is money, we help people with money. We plan for the future you need money. And so I think that a lot of people have really negative connotations around money, and money isn't everything. Well, it's not, but it sure is useful. It sure is helpful. It sure is powerful. It sure can take care of a lot of people, a lot of issues. So I love money, and I'm okay with that, because I believe that money has been a very powerful tool in my life that has helped me, so many people, build so many experiences, take care of people, educate people. I mean, the list goes on. And when I think about what retirement, whatever that means, someday looks like for me, it includes a lot of other people. It includes my whole family and people who aren't even here yet, because they're going to benefit from all of this hard work that we did over all these years to create wealth, to share with others. So I think that some unpopular belief about money is evil or money is at the root of all terrible things, I would totally disagree. I think money is pretty terrific if channeled in the right way.
Yeah, 100% agree. I think that I think you're spot on. I don't know if there's a way that I can articulate any better either. There's an unhealthy relationship that a lot of people have with money.
Yes.
And you are a person that teaches people how to have a healthy respect for money. And there's many other great advisors that do the same. And it is interesting. I think we have a culture maybe coming down from our government, maybe not, just depends on your view of the view of money has changed since you and I were younger, where it used to be, we look at successful people and our parents would say, if you work hard someday, you can do that too.
Yes.
Where now the message is like, oh, they must have done something shady to get that rich. And that is so wrong, because I know you work with so many business owners. When I was in personal practice, my clientele was majority business owners, and the majority of them were just tremendous people trying to leave a mark on this world, a positive mark, not a negative mark. So there's been some sort of narrative switch, and I totally agree with your assessment there. So
and that's why we just have to keep teaching and keep sharing and train the trainers to help people transform their relationship with money, that it is actually a powerful, wonderful tool if channeled in the right way. And if you're willing to share it.
If you're willing to share it and give and be that. I think here's what it is. Money is an accentuator. So if you're an evil person with money, you're going to be worse. And if you're a great person with money, you're going to be an even better person with money. It's an accentuator.
Yep. I love that.
So, well, it's been such a pleasure to have you on, spend some time together today. Where can people, where do you want them to buy the book? I know that's on Amazon, but like, is that the best place, or where would you prefer people buy the book should they want to get Confetti Moments?
Yep. So if you want the book, the Kindle version or the audio book, it is me reading the book. If you need a book, go to Amazon. If you need bulk copies of the book, contact me directly. I know a lot of people have been buying it for their employees, buying it in big quantities. So call me directly if you want big quantities of it. And I'm Amy at confettimoments.com. So that's simple, AMY, Amy at confettimoments.com. And that's the simplest way to reach out to me.
And you see, for those watching video today, I'm holding the book. This is the hardcover. You cannot miss this beautiful mess of confetti on this book here. It is awesome. It stands out for sure. Pick that copy up. And where can people follow you? Should they want to engage you with either financial advice, coaching, otherwise, where can they follow you, connect with you, Amy?
Yep. Amy-Jamrog on all the socials. Jamrog's not a common name, so if you just put Amy Jamrog into any of the socials, you'll find me. And then Amy at Confetti Moments if you want to take the confetti readiness assessment, and if you want to get the confetti blog, that's the place to get it to.
Awesome. So you switched it all up. No more Wednesday wisdom. It's all confetti now.
All confetti.
I love it. It should be. That's awesome. So Spartans, share this episode, share Amy's message. It is needed to be heard by all entrepreneurs, all people for that matter, as they go on celebrating their lives and not just living their lives, to really infuse more confetti moments that are already happening. And as always, remember the good and great are the enemies of possible. Lead like a Spartan today.